welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. I'm so glad you're joining us today.
It's great to be here, Emily. Today, we're diving into a really important topic that affects so many retirees: how cost of living adjustments, or COLAs, impact Social Security benefits.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, with inflation on everyone's minds these days, understanding how those adjustments work can really help people plan for a more secure retirement, right?
Absolutely. Social Security is often the cornerstone of retirement income for many folks, and knowing how COLAs affect it can make a significant difference in budgeting for the future.
We'll touch on how these adjustments are calculated, why they matter, and what retirees should keep in mind as they navigate their financial plans.
And we'll also share some strategies for maximizing those benefits, ensuring you're not leaving any money on the table.
Plus, we'll talk about the importance of reviewing your overall retirement plan in light of these adjustments. It's all connected, after all.
Exactly. So, whether you're planning for retirement or already enjoying it, we've got some valuable insights for you today.
Let's jump right in. First, let's break down what cost of living adjustments really are and how they're calculated.
So, Emily, when we talk about cost of living adjustments, or COLAs, specifically in relation to Social Security, it's really about understanding how these adjustments can be a lifeline for retirees, especially right now.
Absolutely, David. With inflation being what it is, those adjustments are more crucial than ever. I mean, a lot of folks are feeling the pinch at the grocery store or when they fill up their gas tanks.
Right, and it's not just about the groceries. Let's think about healthcare costs, too. With medical expenses rising faster than general inflation, retirees often find that their fixed incomes from Social Security aren't stretching as far as they used to.
Exactly. I had a conversation recently with a listener named Sarah. She's in her late 60s, and she told me that her Social Security check is a significant part of her retirement income. But with rising healthcare costs, she's worried that those increases in her COLA aren't keeping pace with what she's actually spending.
That's a perfect example, and it highlights why understanding these adjustments is so important. Sarah's situation is not unique. Many people are relying heavily on that Social Security income, and if it doesn't keep up with inflation, they might have to make tough choices later on.
Yeah, and when you think about retirement timelines, it's really about planning ahead, right? If someone is just starting to think about retirement now, they need to factor in these potential changes in purchasing power over time.
Exactly. And let's not forget about market volatility. With the stock market being unpredictable lately, many retirees are feeling more cautious, pulling back from investments that might have once seemed safe. The stability that Social Security can offer is becoming even more appealing in that sense.
Right, and for those who are already retired, market downturns can really impact their overall financial health. I've spoken with retirees who are worried that they'll have to dip into their savings more than they planned, especially if their Social Security isn't keeping pace with their expenses.
That's a real concern. And then there's tax efficiency. Many retirees don't realize how their Social Security benefits can be taxed, especially if they're bringing in other income. Understanding the nuances of how COLAs affect their overall tax situation is important too.
Yes. I mean, if someone sees a slight increase in their Social Security, but they're also earning income from a part-time job or investments, that can push them into a higher tax bracket. It's like a double whammy.
Exactly. And as we think about legacy planning, it's crucial to consider how all of this plays out over time. For someone like Sarah, she might want to leave something behind for her kids or grandkids, but if her resources are being eaten away by inflation and taxes, that could impact her ability to do so.
I think that's such a key point. It's not just about living in the moment. It's about ensuring that you can provide for your loved ones down the line too. And you know, David, I've heard from some retirees who feel a lot of emotional stress around their financial security. It's not just dollars and cents.
Yes, that emotional side can't be overstated. When retirees feel secure in their financial situation, they can truly enjoy their retirement. It's about peace of mind, knowing that they can cover their basic needs without constantly worrying about future costs or unexpected expenses.
Exactly. I've talked to people who've planned well, but when they see their expenses rise and their Social Security checks not keeping up, it can create a lot of anxiety. They start to question whether they'll outlive their savings.
And that fear can overshadow the joy of retirement. It's so important to have strategies in place to address these concerns. We want to empower our listeners to take control of their financial futures and feel confident about their retirement plans.
Yes! And for those who might not have a clear plan yet, it's a great time to start thinking about how these factors intertwine. It's about more than just the numbers. It's about a holistic view of retirement.
Definitely. And with current economic trends shifting so rapidly, being proactive is key. Whether it's considering alternate income sources, exploring different investment strategies, or looking into ways to maximize Social Security benefits.
It's all interconnected, isn't it? Understanding how COLAs work, how inflation impacts your lifestyle, and how you can plan strategically for the future is vital.
Absolutely. The more informed our listeners are, the better equipped they'll be to make decisions that align with their goals and values.
So true. And as we transition into some core strategies that our listeners can consider, it's important to keep these broader themes in mind. It's not just about surviving retirement. It's about thriving in it.
So, Emily, when we talk about cost of living adjustments or COLAs for Social Security, it's really important to understand how they fit into the bigger picture of retirement planning, right?
Absolutely, David. I mean, the COLAs can help keep pace with inflation, which is crucial. But it's just one piece of the puzzle. How would you suggest someone factor that into their overall retirement strategy?
Great question. First, I'd say it's essential to have a clear understanding of your expected expenses in retirement. If you know you'll need, say, $50,000 a year to maintain your lifestyle, you can start from there. And remember, Social Security isn't going to cover all of that.
Right, and that's where other income sources come in, like investments or savings. What do you typically recommend for those?
Well, a common rule of thumb is the 4% rule. If you have a diversified portfolio, you can generally withdraw 4% annually without significantly depleting your assets. So, if you have a portfolio of $1 million, you could withdraw about $40,000 each year.
And that's assuming you have a balanced mix of stocks and bonds, right?
Exactly. A typical allocation might be 60% stocks and 40% bonds, but depending on your risk tolerance and time horizon, you might adjust that. Younger retirees might lean more towards stocks for growth, while those closer to their spending needs might want to shift to more bonds for stability.
That makes sense. So back to Social Security. How do those COLAs fit in with a withdrawal strategy?
Well, let's say you're receiving $2,000 a month from Social Security, which is $24,000 a year. If there's a 3% COLA, that's an additional $720 annually. If you're withdrawing 4% from your investments, that adjustment helps offset any rising costs, which is really beneficial.
So it's like a built-in buffer against inflation.
Exactly. And don't forget about tax-advantaged accounts like 401ks and IRAs. If you can, try to maximize contributions to those. Once you're retired, you can draw from those accounts, but be mindful of your RMDs or required minimum distributions, starting at age 73.
Right, because those distributions are taxed as ordinary income, which could impact your overall tax situation.
Yes, and that's why asset allocation becomes even more critical. You want to balance your withdrawals in a way that minimizes your tax burden. For instance, consider withdrawing from taxable accounts first, then tax-deferred accounts, and lastly, tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs.
Roth IRAs are a great tool, aren't they? Since your withdrawals are tax-free, it gives you more flexibility down the line.
Absolutely. And here's a tip. If you can, try to convert some of your traditional IRA assets to Roth IRAs during lower income years. You'll pay taxes on the conversion now, but it allows for tax-free growth and withdrawals in the future.
That's a savvy strategy. And speaking of strategies, what about real estate?
Real estate can be a fantastic asset in retirement planning. If you own your home outright or have rental properties, it can provide a steady income stream. Plus, it typically appreciates over time, which can help hedge against inflation.
And if someone wants to downsize or move to a different area during retirement, that could also free up some cash, right?
Exactly. Selling a larger home and moving to a smaller one can not only reduce costs, like maintenance and property taxes, but also provide a nice influx of cash to fund your retirement.
It's all about creating a diversified income stream, isn't it?
Yes, diversification is key. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. Mixing stocks, bonds, real estate, and even annuities can help spread risk and ensure you have various income sources.
Speaking of annuities, how do you feel about them as part of a retirement strategy?
Annuities can be useful, especially for providing guaranteed income. They might not be for everyone, but for those who want more predictability, they can help cover essential expenses. Just be sure to understand the fees and terms involved, as they can vary widely.
So, it's about finding the right balance that fits your personal situation, right?
Exactly. And consider your withdrawal strategy too. The bucket strategy is one approach where you allocate assets into different buckets based on when you'll need the money. For example, short-term needs can go into cash or short-term bonds, while long-term growth can be in stocks.
That sounds like a solid way to manage risk while ensuring you have cash available when you need it most.
Right, and remember, it's not just about growth, but also about stability and accessibility. You don't want to be in a position where you have to sell stocks during a market downturn just to cover your expenses.
That's a really important point. So, when it comes to taxes and distributions, what are some effective techniques to consider?
One effective technique is tax loss harvesting. If you have investments that have lost value, you can sell them to offset gains elsewhere. It's a way to manage your tax bill while staying invested for the long term.
That's clever. And I suppose being strategic about when you take Social Security can also help manage taxes, right?
Definitely. Delaying Social Security benefits can result in a higher monthly payout, usually about 8% more, for each year you wait past your full retirement age. So, if you can afford to wait, it might be worth it.
Wow, it seems like there are so many moving parts when it comes to retirement planning. What are some common pitfalls you see?
Well, one major pitfall is underestimating healthcare costs in retirement. Many people assume Medicare will cover everything, but out-of-pocket expenses can add up quickly. It's crucial to plan for that.
And I imagine many overlook the impact of inflation on their overall expenses too.
Exactly. It's easy to focus on today's costs, but inflation can erode purchasing power over time. So incorporating COLAs into your planning is vital.
That's a great reminder. Balancing all these factors can be challenging, but it's so important for a secure retirement.
Yes, and staying informed and proactive can really make a difference in your financial well-being. Planning ahead allows you to adjust as needed and enjoy your retirement years with peace of mind. So, Emily, one of the biggest mistakes I see retirees make is underestimating the impact of sequence of returns risk. It's kind of a technical term, but it really boils down to how the order of your investment returns can affect your portfolio, especially in the early years of retirement.
That makes sense. So if someone, say, retires right before a market downturn, they could really be in trouble, right?
Exactly. Let's say someone plans to withdraw a certain percentage of their savings each year. If the market drops right after they retire, they're forced to sell investments at a loss, and that can impact their long-term sustainability. I once worked with a couple, Tom and Judy, who retired in 2007. They were doing everything right, but then, of course, the market crashed in 2008.
That must have been really tough for them.
They had to pull from their retirement savings at a time when their portfolio was down significantly, which meant they were selling low. They hadn't really anticipated how that would affect their overall plan.
So what could they have done differently?
Well, having a diversified portfolio, for one, and creating a withdrawal strategy that accounts for market fluctuations can help. I always suggest having a cash reserve for the first few years of retirement. It acts as a buffer in case the market takes a downturn.
That's a great tip. I think many people might not even think about that.
Right? And then there's the issue of taxes. So many folks ignore how taxes play into their withdrawals.
Oh, absolutely. How does that typically come into play?
Well, if you're withdrawing from tax-deferred accounts like IRAs or 401ks without considering the tax implications, you could end up with a much larger tax bill than expected. I had a client, Sarah, who was so focused on enjoying her retirement that she didn't realize the tax bracket she'd entered by taking large withdrawals.
Wow, that sounds stressful.
She ended up paying a lot more in taxes than she anticipated, which really cut into her budget for travel and hobbies.
So what should people consider when planning their withdrawals?
First, it's important to project your income tax situation in retirement. Consider how much you'll be withdrawing from different accounts. A good mix of taxable, tax-deferred, and tax-free accounts can help manage your tax burden. Also, working with a tax advisor can be a game changer.
That's a smart approach. I guess that's especially crucial as people live longer.
Absolutely. Longevity is another huge factor. Many retirees underestimate healthcare costs and how long they might actually live.
Yes, I've heard that healthcare can be a significant expense in retirement.
It really can be. A recent study suggested that a couple retiring at 65 can expect to spend over $300,000 on healthcare throughout their retirement. And that's not even including long-term care. I worked with a gentleman named Mike, who thought he was set financially, but when he faced unexpected health issues, it drained his savings much quicker than he had planned.
That's a tough situation. How can someone better prepare for those costs?
Ideally, starting early with health savings accounts or HSAs can help. They're tax-advantaged and can be a great way to set aside funds specifically for healthcare. Also, reviewing long-term care insurance options might be worth considering.
That sounds really important. What other common pitfalls do you see?
Well, poor asset allocation is another big one. Many retirees either become too conservative or too aggressive with their investments.
Can you give an example?
Sure. I had a client, Linda, who is very risk-averse and decided to move most of her portfolio into bonds after retiring. While that may seem safe, with low interest rates, she wasn't keeping up with inflation. Eventually, her purchasing power started to erode, and she realized she needed to take on more risk to grow her money.
That's a classic mistake. Finding the right balance seems crucial.
It really is. A well-diversified portfolio aligned with your risk tolerance and income needs can make a huge difference.
And what about claiming Social Security? I know that's a big decision for many retirees.
It definitely is. A lot of folks claim their benefits as soon as they're eligible at 62, thinking they should just get what they can. But that can lead to a lower monthly benefit for the rest of their lives.
Right, so waiting a few years could really pay off in the long run?
Exactly. I had a client, Jim, who claimed at 62 and regretted it later. He didn't realize that by waiting until 70, he could increase his benefit by about 76%. That's a huge difference.
Wow, that's significant.
It is. That's why it's important to look at your entire financial picture and consider factors like health, life expectancy, and other income sources before making that decision.
So what are some red flags people should keep an eye out for when planning their retirement?
Great question. If you're feeling uncertain about your financial security, or if you notice that your spending habits change drastically post-retirement, that's definitely a red flag. Also, if you find yourself withdrawing more than you planned, or feeling stressed about your financial situation, it's time to reassess.
Those are really helpful indicators.
And remember, it's never too late to make adjustments. Even small changes can have a big impact over time.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this part, what should listeners consider as their next steps?
Well, I'd suggest reviewing your retirement plan regularly and consulting with a financial advisor who can help you navigate these common pitfalls. And don't hesitate to adjust your strategy if something feels off.
Great advice, David. It's all about being proactive and informed, right?
Exactly, Emily. Taking charge of your financial future is empowering, and it can lead to a much more fulfilling retirement. So let's dive into some immediate steps our listeners can take right now to really make the most of their Social Security benefits, especially with those cost of living adjustments in mind.
Absolutely, David. It's all about empowering them, right?
Exactly. First and foremost, I'd recommend checking out the Social Security Administration's website, ssa.gov. They have a ton of resources there, including your benefits statement. You can see your earnings history and get an estimate of your future benefits, which is super important.
Yeah, that's a great starting point. And for anyone who hasn't looked at it in a while, it's always a good idea to review that information. You might find discrepancies or just get a clearer picture of what to expect.
Right. And beyond that, if you're looking for a more detailed projection on how those cost of living adjustments will affect your retirement income, using retirement calculators from companies like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab can be really helpful.
Those calculators can really give you a sense of how different variables like your retirement age or investment returns can impact your overall plan.
Exactly. And if you're into technology, there are also some really useful financial planning apps out there. Apps like Personal Capital or Mint can help you track your spending and net worth, which is key as you approach retirement.
I love those tools. They make it so much easier to visualize where you stand financially. Plus, they can help you adjust your budget to account for those cost of living adjustments.
Absolutely. And speaking of budgeting, it might be a good time to start a habit of reviewing your portfolio quarterly. Just a quick check-in can make a huge difference over time.
Yes, and running retirement projections regularly can help you stay on track. It's like taking your financial temperature, right? If things are getting a little warm, you can adjust before it's too late.
Right, and for those willing to dive a bit deeper, reading up on personal finance can be incredibly beneficial. There are some fantastic books out there. The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey is a classic, and Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin is another great one that offers a fresh perspective on financial independence.
Those are both solid recommendations. And for podcasts, the Bigger Pockets Money podcast does a great job of breaking down personal finance topics in a relatable way.
Definitely worth a listen. And if you're looking for something a bit more focused on retirement, Retirement Answer Man by Roger Whitney is another fantastic choice.
Oh, I love that one. He really makes retirement planning feel accessible and manageable.
It really helps to hear different perspectives and strategies. And on top of that, setting small, achievable goals can keep you motivated.
Exactly. Even just starting with a monthly budget review or setting aside a bit of time each week to learn something new can build up over time.
It's never too late to improve your plan. Even if you're close to retirement, making slight adjustments can lead to better outcomes in the long run.
And remember, every little bit counts. Whether it's saving a little more or just being more mindful of your expenses, it all adds up.
Right. And if you're still working, consider maximizing your contributions to your retirement accounts. If you can, take advantage of employer matches. That's free money.
Yeah, you really don't want to leave that on the table. And if you're retired, look for ways to optimize your withdrawals to minimize taxes.
Spot on, Emily. Speaking of taxes, using tax software or consulting with a tax professional can help you navigate how your Social Security benefits and other income streams will be taxed.
Absolutely. That's a key part of any retirement plan. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, remember that you can always reach out to a financial advisor who specializes in retirement planning, like you, David.
Exactly. Having a professional guide can help clarify things and tailor a plan that fits your unique situation.
So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together.
Wow, Emily, what a deep dive into how cost of living adjustments really impact Social Security.
Absolutely, David. I mean, it's really eye-opening to see how those adjustments can affect retirees' income over time, right?
For sure. So let's recap some key takeaways. First off, understanding that cost of living adjustments, or COLAs, are essential for keeping pace with inflation is crucial. They help maintain purchasing power.
Right, and then there's the fact that not all years see those adjustments, which can be a bit concerning for folks relying on that income. It's a roller coaster sometimes.
Exactly, and we can't forget that these adjustments are calculated based on the Consumer Price Index. So if prices rise, retirees see a bit of relief, but it's not always enough.
Yeah, and that means planning ahead is so important. You really want to factor in how inflation can eat away at your savings over time.
Definitely. And lastly, it's good to remember that Social Security is just one piece of the retirement puzzle. Diversifying income sources is key to building and protecting that retirement wealth.
Well said, David. So, for everyone listening, keep the big picture in mind. It's all about ensuring that your retirement is as comfortable as possible.
And as we wrap up, we encourage you to like, subscribe, and comment with your biggest takeaway from today's episode. Or, if you have a question about Social Security or retirement planning, we'd love to hear it.
And don't forget to share this episode with someone in your life who's planning for retirement or is already there. It could really make a difference for them.
Absolutely. And next time, we'll be diving into the barista fire strategy. It's such an interesting approach to balancing work and retirement.
Can't wait for that one. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.